have been director of the Jewish Studies program at the City College of New York for 22 years. I recently left that position last June, and I've left New York City, except for this morning, and I'm living now in Paris, very happily. I think the first time I went to Morocco was in 1978, and it was for a few weeks. And I landed up on Boulevard d'Anfa, and I went inside of a store, and I went inside this little place and said to the man, "Mais où sont les Juifs ici? Where are the Jews here?" And he answered me in Hebrew and said, "Go down that little street, and you'll find 7 synagogues." And I went into one synagogue. It was a weekday at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. This is 1978. And I was alone in the synagogue, and a man sits down next to me. I will never forget this. He sits down next to me and says, Shuma. And I thought, I don't know what he's just said. And he said, I said, can you talk in Hebrew? And he explained that I'm sitting in a synagogue the wrong way. Both feet have to be on the ground. I was sitting with my feet crossed, like in the cafe. So the first word I learned in Moroccan Arabic was Hashuma. And that's how I started learning about Morocco and Moroccan Jews. And it was like taking a drug. I fell instantly in love with life in Morocco, with Muslims and with Jews living there, and the relationship between the two. And now, 47 years later, some odd 47 years later, I think I've been to Morocco 100 times, and have taken a lot of photographs, especially early 1980s, capturing what I think is the beauty of the relationship between Muslims and Jews in Morocco over all of that time. I became immediately seduced by the beauty of life in Morocco in general, the music, the smells. It's a very sensual country. The air that you breathe, the sound that you hear is very intense and very different from what I was used to growing up in New York. And then I found that there was a vibrant Jewish community living in that very beautiful Moroccan culture. And that was the beginning of a whole love affair that I've had with Morocco, with the Jews there, with the Muslims that are living there, ever since 1978. So I landed up writing my dissertation, my PhD dissertation, on Muslims and Jews in Morocco. As you know, I've done a lot of photographs on the Jewish community there, especially in the late 1970s or into the early 1980s. And it's unfortunately, I think it's kind of sad now, because for me, all of those people that I knew and loved back from the early 1980s have all disappeared in one shape or form. They're no longer there. So this is a relationship and a culture that is in large part been silenced compared to the way it used to be. If you look at the historical record, as I understand it, this has been an exceptional relationship, not just for the last 47 years that I've been observing it, but for the last hundreds of years. There have been dips, there have been moments of tension. We have to accept that honestly between the two groups. But on the whole, I think that the relationship between Jews and Muslims in Morocco has been one that serves as a model for the rest of the world of how people of different religions can not only live in peace with one another, and I don't like this word tolerate, but to really love one another. I've sensed a real love and yearning to be among one another. Can I tell you a quick story, Zahor? Since this is we're on the cusp near the beginning of Shahr Ramadan fil Maghreb, near the beginning of Ramadan in Morocco. I remember back in the early 1980s, every Saturday late in the day, around sunset, it was a very, very special time in Casablanca, because all of my Muslim friends would go home and get ready to break the fast for that day. And all of the Jewish community would come out for the last few minutes, for the last half hour or so of their Sabbath, of Shabbat. And I thought, how extraordinary this is. How extraordinary that these two communities are sharing this public space, and they're having this dance in Casablanca, one with the other. One is going home to celebrate the end of their fast of Ramadan, and the other is coming out in the streets for one final walk in the streets of Casablanca before the end of the Sabbath. This interaction between the two, I think, has been extraordinary, and sometimes I miss it, not being there, as I haven't been in a little while. I can't say for sure because I'm not as I'm not as exposed to that relationship as I have been, um, between Muslims and Jews in other countries as in Morocco. But it seems to me to be exceptional. And if I had to place a bet on the most warm interactions between the two, it certainly would be Morocco. Morocco is the shining star um, in the world for this kind of interaction between the two groups.